Hello, Elise, Wilk. Hello, Joachim, Umlauf. Here we are in the afternoon of this Saturday, after the official opening of Timișoara, European Cultural Capital. I am here very protected of the vibration of the city because the Timișoara city is really vibrating, and I'm organizing these live salons now, Salon Insula 42, which are supported by the Center of Projects, by Centrul de Proiecte Timișoara this time, on behalf of the cultural capital, making sort of a panorama of people who, artists and operators, cultural operators who are active right now for the opening. Because the last salons were speaking a lot about the artistic projects and the curated opening project in visual arts of the cultural capital, but also Adriana Babetz and Ovidiu Hrin were speaking of the general ambience in the city. And yesterday we spoke a lot about the Victor Brauner exhibition and the Brâncuș exhibition that is going to be organized in a French-Romanian cooperation this year. I dedicate this salon to the cooperation with Germany. And I'm very happy and honored to welcome Joachim Umlauf, who's the director of the Goethe Institut in Bucharest, and also Elise Wilk, who's a playwright that I met the first time in a American-Romanian cooperation, but Elise is very much writing and presenting her work in Germany, and she will be also part of programming here in Timișoara in 2023. Joachim, I will start with you. Very soon, in 20-30 minutes, Julien Chiappone-Luchesi will join us, who's the director, who's the French attaché, cultural attaché, who's the director of the French Institute in Romania. And we are also going to engage in a more complex conversation about EUNIC. But let's start with what are the cooperation projects that Germany is going to bring in the cultural capital. I have to tell both of you that yesterday for the opening, the mayor of the city, Dominic Fritz, did a very nice thing. He spoke in Romanian, German, and he tried very hard also in Hungarian. Well, Hungarian was the most difficult for him, but he succeeded to speak, to say a welcoming word in this language. And why is it Germany, I believe, so important? Timișoara has a German theater, right? And also Timișoara has a population, a German population that is here and was very influential in the culture, in this multicultural city. So Joachim, how did you imagine the cooperation with institutions and other organizations here in Timișoara for the cultural capital?
Yeah, hi everybody. Thank you, Corinna, for the invitation. And I'm also glad to meet Elise Wilk. And I think she will talk a little bit later also about theater, about writing, about things. And I'm very glad to be involved in this project, Timișoara, European Capital of Culture 2023, even though it's later than initially thought, but it's a great thing. But let me, before I come to our concrete projects, let me please just make one or two very general remarks, because in my career, I've been involved in 3 different cultural capitals. It was Ruhr in 2010 or 11. It was Marseille in 2013, and now it is Timișoara. I would say in a very general manner, the year of the European capital is not that important than one thinks. Yes, it's important by the different activities developed and so on. but the most important thing is what is happening after it. And I'm partly living still in Marseille, where my wife is working. And I say for Marseille, it was a real success. 10 years later, the image of the town has changed from a city where people thought at drugs and things like this, crimes and drugs, also the harbor naturally. Marseille has completely changed his image. Why? And this is a good question. And I could also add, for instance, the history of Sibiu, your last European capital. Because the real question is what is happening afterwards. And then we can have 2 or 3 different things. You can have buildings. So this is the case, for instance, in Marseille, where with a museum of the civilization of the Mediterranean Sea. We have a big new building, and not only this, but also other parts of the harbor. The old one was transformed and changed. So buildings can be structures and openness to international artistic networks and so on. So this will be the real important question also for Timișoara. It is great that big exhibitions, and I really congratulate our French friends having brought or bringing Brancusi and Brauner to Timișoara. But in the end, the real important point is that it is possible to have a big international exhibition in Timișoara, because this is a point which is lacking terrible in Romania, even though in Bucharest you don't have big exhibitions from international artists being placed there, because the infrastructures are sometimes not ready to host this. You know, I'm just coming back from Amsterdam, where some days ago the exhibition of Vermeer, new Vermeer exhibition was open, and it's incredible attraction, international attraction. I know so much people who will visit during the next months Amsterdam just to go visit this exhibition, where you have 28 paintings, if I'm not wrong, only from Vermeer. So this is incredible. So, and this is the question. So I congratulate Timișoara that you made it possible to have 2 exhibitions of this way. So more than
Joachim, I'm just interrupting you for 1 minute, because indeed what you're saying is extremely important, and also to show that because these exhibitions are presenting during the capital, the museum, the National Museum in Timișoara, had to upgrade and to update their infrastructure. So it was how the museum itself could finally become a museum capable of hosting this kind of exhibition. So you are completely right. What is very important in that what will stay is this updating of the level of hosting that the museum has.
Yes, or otherwise said, Corinna, to make live your own artistic scene and the young artist, you have to be international. And this is the main point. And so, and this is the future of international arts, international connections. You have this wonderful German National Theater, and Elise will talk about it, which isn't anymore a German theater, so to say, because they are playing German, they are playing in German, but with, if I'm not wrong, Romanian subtitles. So it's theater for the large public, because you quoted the German minority, but which is so small in the end, you know. So and it's only maybe the culture rests from it. So this is one big point I wanted to make. So, and we will see afterwards what will happen if Timișoara can keep this international attraction, if they can build this international attraction, as Sibiu did with the theater festival, for instance. So one of the most important European theater festivals after or with Avignon and Edinburgh is certainly Sibiu now. So this is one of the questions and one of the main challenges, how to stay attractive, how to keep on building this international way of culture. And Timișoara is able to do it because they are so international. You said with Hungarian, Bulgarian, Serbs and Serbians and Orthodox and Christian and Catholic and different. So the ground is there to make out of this wonderful international intercultural city something which stays. And I wanted to make a second point, if you permit, and this is something also very important, because as our French friends, we are making also exhibitions, not at this level, I have to admit, and that's why I congratulate them. But we have exhibitions. We have also, for instance, in 3 weeks, we have a German film festival taking place in Victoria Cinema through 3 or 4 days, together with our friends from the German-Romanian Center, Mona Petzek in Timișoara. So we have many different activities, roundtables, and writers coming there. But there's one other point which is very important. This is to connect the local with the international scene, so to involve local artists. And we have with Mona Petzek, for instance, this street art festival where we try to bring together the scenes. Because one risk is always, you know it, Corinna, is that some local artists are disappointed because they think that international or national ones are preferred to them. So this is very fragile. This is very important to create. And I think a little bit later, when Julien will come and join us, we will talk about this point as like we, as European cultural institutes, we don't want to impose our own national culture, so to say, but we want to be part of this construction of a European diverse and also culture with hasn't this hierarchical kind of thinking. This is the second point. And the third point, if you permit, and you know it also very good, Corinna, is for whom are you organizing the events? So, and then you also have a good mixture between these highlight events like Exhibition Brauner and Brancusi, some concerts. We have a big concert at end of September with the so-called Chorelieder von Schönberg. It's 300 people performing on a stage outside. So this is really great. But we have also care for young people, for minorities, for LGBT, for Roma, and so on. And we have to create participatory forms of cultural participation. And this is, for me, why it is important to organize big shots, highlights, but also being in the perspective on the ground with the people there, because at the end, we are aiming also to attract people to European culture, who maybe are not so familiar with these forms. So tourists coming to Timișoara, this is great. They will discover all this also from the Romanian side. But this forms a whole, if you want. And our activities, they are a little bit focused on these different points.
Great. So, and which would be what you already talked about a couple of things, but which do you also think along the year will be the main German presences in Timișoara?
But as I said already, and this is organized almost always with our cultural center in Timișoara. We have different exhibitions. Ulrike Oettinger, for instance, makeup histories have long lives. In February, always the German film days being between the 12th and 15th of March in Victoria Cinema. We have at Kunsthalle Bega, which you know very good, naturally different degrees of freedom, an exhibition by Sinta Werner, and some other events like this. And as I said, this big performance with the National Philharmonic in September, an open air concert, which is also co-financed by an important German foundation.
Great.
But we will have also that, and I think maybe
Joachim, you cut your mic. You cut your mic, Joachim. You cut your mic. We don't hear you. I don't know what happened. No, we don't hear you. I don't know what happened. No. Elise, do you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Look, I think that we will wait for Joachim to come back with the sound, and we are going to move on because he already presented a number of highlights of what the German programming for the cultural capital will be. And in what you are concerned, precisely because you are part, Elise, of a generation of Romanian writers who have a very strong international career and are played abroad, and a lot played in Germany. You were just telling me that in 2 weeks you are going to have an opening in Germany, and I would like to ask you, from your perspective, the presence in this cultural capital and the presence in the theater in Timișoara. Is it your first collaboration with the theater in Timișoara, or is it you already had this kind of collaboration? And how do you see also for me it's very interesting, really, starting from what Joachim was saying, how do you see your journey as a writer in relation to the fact that, in fact, you're Romanian, but you're also feel German with the way in which you artistically express yourself? What is the link between the two, and how do you live this kind of connection?
Thank you for inviting me. It's not the first time that I am working together with a theater in Timișoara. So I had, I think, 3 plays performed at the National Theater, so at the Romanian Theater. I never worked with the German theater, but now
that's funny.
Yeah, that's funny. And now with the cultural capital, I have 2 projects. One of them is with the Romanian theater, which I very good know, and the other one is with a German theater. So it's the first time that I'm working together with them, and in both cases they are international co-productions. So the first one, it's with Salzburg, with Schauspielhaus Salzburg, and with the theater in Luxembourg in Esch. So it's a co-production with 3 theaters, and it started with the theater in Salzburg. Actually, they commissioned me to write a play, and it's actually my first play that I wrote in 3 languages. So it's written in Romanian, German, and English. I have to say that I almost never write in German, so I'm normally writing in Romanian, but I have very good translators, and I'm working together with them on the translation. But now in Salzburg, I had to write this play in 3 languages because it will be performed by actors from Timișoara, from Salzburg, and from Luxembourg. So they will perform together in this play. And the play has 3 parts. In one of the parts, they are speaking Romanian, in the other part in German, and in the other part in English, but it's also a bit mixed. And also the actors are mixed. So one actor from Romania is performing with the actors from Salzburg, and so on. So they are not performing in the scene together with their colleagues. And I think this will be interesting. And so I wrote it. Now I have to work a bit on a final draft, and the rehearsals will start beginning of April, and the director will be Alexandru Weinberger-Bara. He's a young director from Romania but living in Vienna, and the opening will be end of May, but the show will also travel to Timișoara, of course. And it can be seen, I think, in August, I think at the end of August. And it's a co-production. So, and the other co-production is a co-production of the German theater, this time from Timișoara, with the theater in Gera, in Eastern Germany. And it will be also very interesting because I will have to write a play and the German author Anja Hilling will have to also to write a play on the topic of poverty. And how does art deal with this social inequality and poverty? And it will be, so both plays will be performed on the same evening in Gera and in Timișoara. But this will be...
Die reden gerade, ich habe keinen Ton, verstehe es nicht.
This will be only in 2024, so it's also in the program of the cultural capital, but it will be next year.
Yeah,
it will be next year.
Elise, yeah, no, but finish this.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that this is something relatively new in our country, that we have co-productions, international co-productions with theaters from abroad. And I think it's very good for us playwrights to be in this co-production. And I think that it's important, of course, what happens after the capital. And it's important that these co-productions will continue, and also with other theaters from Romania. I think it's an opportunity. It's a great opportunity for us.
A great opportunity. Now, Elise, you are part of this, as I was saying, you are part of a generation of playwrights who are very much concerned with social issues. I mean, really your generation, the way, starting from your debut, you were always very, very concerned with this. Do you think that this kind of concern, the kind of subjects that you are tackling, are now still very present and interesting for the audiences? Do you think that this is something that is really still provocative for the audiences in Europe and in Romania and in Germany? Or do you feel that this tendency is now replaced by something else, by more consumer-orienting art, or by a different way of considering that art is useful? I mean, how do you see this evolution since you started to write?
So I think that these topics do not change very much through the years, but the way you are telling these stories changed. And I think it's very challenging to find new ways to tell these stories and to pack these topics and to deliver it to the audience. And I think there is, the structure maybe, and the way of showing the things is maybe different than 10 years ago, than 20 years ago, but the topics are still the same, so and they are all continue to be interesting to the audience, in my opinion.
The fact that you are now writing in 3 languages, I mean, to what degree this is important? I mean, what kind of thing does this bring to the writing and to the whole performance and everything? The fact that you will have 3 languages in which you wrote, I mean, you wrote the text in 3 languages. How does this work in a different way?
So it does work because we are all also, so if you are living in Timișoara, for instance, maybe you talk 3 languages, or maybe you talk with your mother Hungarian, and then you go to your job and you talk Romanian, and then you talk Serbian on the street, and then you meet a friend and you talk English with him. So I think we are multilingual now, and so these languages they change, and the way we are talking changes, and it's normal for me to have a Zoom in English, and then maybe to talk to someone on the phone in German, and then go and meet friends and talk Romanian. So this is part of my life and part of many people's lives
today. And your interest in young audiences, because you're very interested in young audiences, Elise, how does this translate in the way that you are writing, in your writing, first? And second, do you believe really, do you sincerely believe that theater as a form of art today can have an impact on these audiences, now that we are invaded with new technologies, with a way in which young audiences are developing a different sense of perceiving art and living art? What's your take on that?
Yes, I was very interested. I continue to be interested in young audiences, but I don't write now for young audiences anymore. But I also did my PhD on young audiences in Romania. And I think because Joachim he was talking about participativity, and I think these kind of shows can be very interesting to them. So you have to involve them in the theater. They cannot be just I don't know, spectators that just watch a show. They have to be involved because they like this. And the more shows you do in which you involve the young people, the more young people will come to see these shows, in my opinion. So you have to find this participatory way to bring them to the theater, and because it's more interesting than watching, I don't know, Netflix, because theater is life, is really happening in front of you, and it's different every time. So it should be interesting to young people.
Maybe you permit me to jump in this. I don't know, because I was some minutes out. If Elise, you talked about the project of next year with 𝐂𝐻𝐻𝐿 and this project about work and so on. And I'm convinced, as you said, that this is the future of a part, at least, of the theater. This kind of involvement, you cannot have it in the television, in Netflix, this kind of involvement and participation. And we have, for instance, this project, which is really nice project, I think, but we have also another one which is taking place with 7 countries of our region, so to say. It's called New Stages Southeast Europe, and the idea was, since 3 years, to work with young authors, to make them write pieces, to invite, so to say, mentors from Germany, known authors, and to develop pieces which have all this kind of social issue, talking about our generation, talk about what is happening now. So we had this project, and now we will organize a festival in Oberhausen in the month of April, 3 days only with pieces from Southeast Europe, about 15 pieces being performed partly and so on. So this is very important because, on the other hand, for instance, in Germany, we don't know what is happening in this region, which authors are writing. And this is also very important. And I want to add it, Corinna, it is not only important to organize things taking place in Timișoara, but it's also important to think about how we bring it back to Western Europe, so to say, to make it more known, to try to destroy a little bit the stereotypes and the things like this, how we can organize this. So this is a very, very important point. And this is really also for a cultural manager as me, and I think Elise hopefully agrees, this is also fun. Yeah, it's also fun and good things to work with young people, to work with people in theater, and to make these kind of theaters attractive.
Right, that's absolutely correct. And I mean, I'm going to derive a little bit from what you said, Joachim. Another question for Elise, which is the following: because you work with Romanian structures and also German structures in theater, in your opinion, Elise, what do you think, from your observation, completely ad hoc observation, what do you think are the main differences in the way in which arts are supported in Germany and in Romania, and creativity is accompanied in Germany and in Romania? What do you feel are the main differences?
I think I will talk about playwrights and playwriting because I know this the most. In Romania, I don't know, you are not really encouraged to write. There are no residencies, so there is one residency, one single residency for playwrights, which is organized by an independent theater and not by a state theater. So we have just one residency, and this is for emerging playwrights, and that's all. We don't have prizes. We just have some contests for people that can send their plays to these contests. Very, very, I don't know, I think there are maybe 5 or 4 contests, and this is all. But in Germany, I think there are more literary prizes than writers. I think there are, I don't know, maybe 200 prizes. They have a lot of residencies, a lot of I don't know, towns. They are offering, for instance, a city is offering residency to one playwright to stay 1 year in this city and to write a play. So this doesn't exist in Romania. So it's very hard to be a playwright here. I was lucky because I get commissions from theaters, but not so many playwrights do get these commissions, and it's not very easy. But in Germany, of course, there are many playwrights, not like here, but it's because of this, because we don't have support, and
right.
We are not encouraged.
And you think, Joachim, now Julien is going to join us immediately. Do you think, Joachim, that this kind of project like the Cultural Capital of Culture could also design some models for future residencies, or encourage organizations to realize how important, like theaters, to realize how important it is also to create this kind of framework for writers for the theater, because theater can't live without writers. And countries, I'm just going to give this British example for the Brits. Encouraging writers is extremely powerful and important, because these are also going to be the future writers for the series and for cinema and for television. So they have this kind of system in which they encourage emerging playwrights, so that the most talented can become future script writers, and this turns into a very good economic model. In fact, in the British system, let's say. What do you think, Joachim?
To give you the reasons why it is like this in Germany, it's a long story. It's due to history, and we shouldn't underestimate how the cultural scene has been developed in the last 200 years, because it was the fact that every urban center, every small town has its own public theater and this only ensemble, and they are preparing what we call repertoire. This means, so it's a mix between older pieces, plays, or Shakespeare, Goethe, and traditional one and modern one. And if you go, and normally they have two stages, and one big stage and a smaller stage. And all this makes that they have a necessity to have young authors presenting their pieces. So this is due to history. I make it really short, but it's due
right.
to the fact that all these urban centers wanted to emancipate, wanted to have their own cultural expression. This is not so far away from Romania if you look to the big cities. So you have also wonderful theaters, and you have also this system of repertoire. So this is similar, and I think my good friend Julien, he arrived here, he agrees this is completely different in other countries like France or in Italy. They have completely other systems. So this is one thing. But the second thing, and I wanted not to make it too negative, but I'm convinced that in Romania, the theater scene has to move to survive, because it's the same for the opera. Yeah, we had a project which was called Opera in Your Pocket, 3 short operas, modern contemporary operas of half an hour each, with very social issues. Yeah, so contemporary themes and topics. Yeah, for people who don't go all time to look for operas. But if opera stays what it is, it will most probably not die, but being reduced to a certain form of cultural expression. So this is I would say it is necessary. Theater has to move in this direction. And to answer your question, I hope yes, actually, because Elise is involved in one of these projects we are doing with Germany over several years, and this is a very participatory project. We as Goethe Institute, we will develop all the pedagogical part with meetings with pupils and schools and so on. This is one of these projects, how I would say we connect the cultural scenes, we raise awareness of us Europeans, and we build a modern theater.
Right. Thank you. So thank you, Elise and Joachim, for this kind of very short but very intense overview. And welcome, Julien. I know that you are, Julien, do you hear us?
Yes. Do you hear me?
Yes, we do.
Dear Corina, drag Corina.
We hear you and we see you. So it's great.
Okay.
You are still in the museum, I imagine.
I am, and I'm in a part of the city of Timișoara, which is called the Bastion. And
Yes.
I'm sorry because I'm talking to you through my phone, and then I have to have it in my hand, and it probably will move a little bit, but I'm trying my best.
No, but we see you very well, and thank you. So both of us, Julien and myself, we are in Timișoara. Elise Wilk is in Brașov, and Joachim is in Bucharest for the moment, but we are, you know, kind of that's the advantage of online discussions. Julien, we were saying that today for the Salon Insula 42, we are also going to touch to this idea of the EUNIC hub that might be an idea to be projected for Timișoara 2023. You are for this year, you are the new president of the EUNIC cluster. For those of you who listen to us and don't know, EUNIC is the network of cultural diplomatic agencies, and it's a project that advanced for a decade, more than a decade, and creates a sort of a common way in which cultural agencies in Europe try to create a European sense of perspective. And they are very effective. EUNIC is very effective in Europe, inside Europe, in terms of making European issues and subjects more visible, but also abroad by trying to have a conjoint, a joint way of acting when in America, in Asia, on other continents, so that Europe seems to speak on a very diverse voice, but in a more common, coherent, and correlated way. Now, what about EUNIC for the coming year, and what about EUNIC in Timișoara? And of course, that I'm sure that Joachim will also react to what you're going to say, and I hope Elise too, because she's the artist. I mean, she will have the artist's voice.
Yes, thank you very much. Mulțumesc, Corina. First of all, allow me, because I think that this salon was also dedicated more to the German initiative and in Germany, and to tell you that because we are going to speak about Europe, the Franco-German cooperation in culture outside is very important, and here in Romania is a very good one, very rich one, a very dense one, and it serves, probably it gives also to the European network, we're speaking about EUNIC, a lot of impetus. And I want to underline it because it's also a logical that is interesting when we see that in different countries we are, since the Treaty of Aachen, ex-La Chapelle in 2019, we are thinking at the French and German level to multiply the cooperations and the integrations of cultural centers in third countries, like in Ramallah, like in Rio, like in Palermo, etc., etc. So that's also related to the whole subject of EUNIC, which is, as you said, it stands as European network of organizations engaging in cultural relations. So it's more than 100 countries that are concerned, that are engaged in this. So we have 136 clusters. And with the EU member states and associate countries, the last one to be associated in the last month, two months ago, more maybe in Brussels, when the EUNIC Global has met, was Ukraine, of course, and that was also very symbolic to include Ukraine in this movement. So advocacy of the role of culture in international relation, but also it is a partner, a strategic partner of the European Union in the further definition of what can be European policies. And for us in Romania, the cluster, the group, if you want, of EUNIC Romania, originally EUNIC Bucharest in 2008 when it was created, and in 2016 EUNIC Romania, is a group of very active members, very heterogeneous also, and that's good because that's the reality of Europe. And we're trying to have common projects to make, if you want, happen the diversity of what European culture is, but also to prove that we can cooperate and to stand for culture and multilingualism and inclusion. So to try to have this whole program being represented when we speak about what we do. So I can give you some project that we are running since a long time, or that we are running right now, that are a lot of films, European Film Festival, also we see Cine Femina, or we can have CineMascope in the summer in februarie. There is the European Day of Languages, of course, and there is more specific projects that we are doing about cultural management, and we will come back maybe also with Joachim if you want to add something about this specific project, because I think it's a very interesting project of enhancing the capacities of cultural managers, and I think that is also for you, dear Corina, a very close subject, and you can also rely on it. And we are also having possibilities of thinking with stakeholders about very important subjects like green labeling culture, what we can do to make culture think how to participate in this movement to bring the climate change issue forward in the field of culture. So you asked a specific question, because it is Timișoara, and I'm currently in Timișoara, as you said, capital city of culture, European capital city of culture 23. And the idea of the cluster, which is an ongoing idea still, adapting to the circumstances, to open an embassy. You set it up. EUNIC is already a platform, so we want that this platform can be able to participate together as an entity and open an embassy to Timișoara 23. We don't know yet if it will be the case, but the idea is really to make it more visible, and also everything that I told you before, to make it more public, and trying also to say to all the stakeholders that EUNIC, in which Romania, of course, is participating as a country, European country, is a very, very interesting way to make the different subjects of culture going forward in the conversation. Because until now, the relations between EUNIC and the Romanian authorities are not direct. We are having bilateral discussions. But there is, of course, a lot of this discussion that we could have as European. So we need to structure it a lot more. I cannot tell you what are the objectives specifically this year, because as any collegial association, EUNIC is a very collective way of deciding things. So we will still have to set it, and I took the presidency with my Italian colleague on the 31st of January, so it's not a long time ago. But we want to consolidate the network for sure and set up priorities, as I told you, as inclusion, like culture, of course, but culture in relation to inclusion, in relation to industrial, to creative industries, to multilingualism, and being part of the reflection of what is a European capital city and of culture, and what can be done with it, because that's already the question. We are having the opening of Timișoara right now, but this is a good moment right now, all the year long, to reflect and to discuss and to bring in what we can as European to think what is a European capital city of culture worth, if you want, and what is coming after. And this is very important, that we bring ideas from bottom to up, because as told you, EUNIC is also represented as a national level in Brussels, and we need that EUNIC is proving from the clusters, from the bottom up, that it is very useful to the higher project of defining very specific European policies in the field of culture. And I think we need also in Timișoara to have this in mind, and that could be very interesting, because if this embassy is open, that would be the first time that we do that. But I'm still very modest and a lot of humility. We don't know if it will happen, but if it doesn't happen, we will of course organize otherwise to have this conversation. And maybe I will be asking Joachim if he wants to intervene and describe a little bit more, because he is very involved in this academy that has been done already with Republica Moldova in the past year, and that is done now with the capital city, so the network of this year, and that will include this reflection, which is super important to us.
Right. So I will invite also Joachim to complete what you said. Julien, thank you very much. I also would like both of you to comment on the idea that in order to have this kind of EUNIC presence stronger in Timișoara, this makes us also think that Timișoara is a city of borders, and it's basically bordering a lot. I mean, we really are in the center of Europe. In a certain way, Timișoara is very symbolic for this kind of multicultural European space that is also concretely bordering in different ways and intersecting Europe. And a last question I will ask Elise, because we are going to now end our salon, but I will ask Elise to answer the following question. To what degree for her as an artist, the idea of Europe is present in what she's doing and what she experiences as an artist, being in Romania, traveling internationally, working internationally, and working also in Germany. Now, Joachim.
Yeah, thank you very much. I can only underline what Julien said, and if I'm not wrong, he's sitting where maybe our embassy will be, hopefully. So this is the good thing. Yeah, just a word about it. I think cultural empowerment is also something which is very important. And since 6 or 7 years, we are organizing so-called cultural management academies with EUNIC. And we had it in different cities, for all in Bucharest and also in Chișinău. But this year, and we have to add also that with the support, with funding from EUNIC Global, from Brussels, we have a cultural management academy addressing people being in the 3 European cultural capitals. So from Veszprém, from Greece, and from Romania, people, and we will try about the point I made in the beginning, how to make European cultural capitals sustainable in different senses, sustainable in the sense also in an ecological way, but also sustainable in a cultural way. We will work about it in 3 different meetings taking place in the 3 European capitals, and this is also a way that we as European network, we try to connect these different countries to exchange, because when we often say maybe Romania doesn't know about enough about Germany and the other way around, it's also so that maybe between Serbia and Romania, there are not that many contacts in the cultural scene, and we have also to improve this kind of networks.
Good, great.
And if I may, Corina, last thing, which is also very important, because of course we want to enhance the mutual understanding, facilitate cooperation amongst the EUNIC member, but there is still regarding the capacities of the cultural actors, not only the artists, but sometimes the artists, they are very alone in that very complicated administrative stuff at the level of Europe. it's a lack of knowledge about European fundings, programs, and initiatives, and that is also a very important thing that we have to address in this country, in Romania. There is different capacities, and we have, I think, as a unique association to also address this issue together, because it's important, together with the European Commission Representative Office to Romania.
Right, absolutely. And I think that indeed today, maybe that European agencies and organizations, cooperation agencies are also becoming more and more mediators in between spaces that usually are still having difficulties in cooperating or transmitting information in the right way, precisely because of the development of the last decades, which were not as smooth as we would have maybe desired. So Elise, now answer my question. How do you as an artist see Europe? What is Europe for you?
So it's my home, and well, I traveled a lot, and I was lucky to be connected with other artists, to exchange ideas with them, and so. And during all these processes, I realized that we are actually very similar, and much more similar than I have imagined before, and that we are interested actually in the same topics, and this was the most interesting thing to discover, that we actually want to tell the same stories, just in different ways. And I think that we Romanians, I don't know, sometimes we have a complex of inferiority. It happened to me a lot before, because I was thinking, oh, they know I'm from Romania. They think maybe that I'm not that good because I'm from Romania. I don't know from where this complex come from, but in order to get rid of this complex, you have to travel and you have to meet other people and connect in other countries of Europe.
Thank you so much. That's a very nice and true, sincere answer. And now to end this salon, I will ask, because both Julien and Joachim, both of them and each of them had this immense capacity to learn Romanian. I was very, very impressed. And to end the salon, it doesn't have to do with Timișoara, but it has to do with Romania. I would like to ask each of them, what did learning Romanian bring to them?
Who is going to answer first? Joachim, do you want to answer? Or should I go?
It is quite easy. I'm not perfect in Romanian. I never will be perfect in Romanian, but it opens doors. It's really easy. You have to come along in everyday conversation, but let's take an example. We had 3 months ago a meeting in the Department of Inter-Ethnical Relationships in the ministry in Bucharest, and everybody talked Romanian. It's normal. And so at the end, I was the only the only one not being Romanian, being there, and I understood 90%. And for this, it is very important, because to understand the mindset, the spirit, sometimes knowing the language of the country is indispensable.
Thank you. Julien?
Da, cred că în România avem această magia limbilor romane, and this magic that I would describe as follows is like you get very, very fast into the language because you feel it is the same family. You feel it very easily. In Romanian, it took me a little bit more time because of the very rich influences of this language, which makes it absolutely stunning and worth it to wait a little bit. It's not like Italian, Spanish, Portuguese, when you just don't have to wait, it's just coming like this. But in Romanian, it took me 3 months to begin to like it a lot. And that I was not sure. For me, at the beginning, was a bit strange. It was a little bit like a, you know, Dadaist language, which is fitting to the country, by the way, with streets and Stara and all the people around this. But I really like the language now, and it is a very, as Joachim say, it is absolutely different you experience in the country if you make this effort. So you have to. Of course, it's easier to do that in Romania than in Tibet, but for us as European and as speakers of Romania, Roman languages, Latin languages. But really, this language is very interesting, and I'm going deeper and deeper in it, and I'm very happy with it because it allows me to make the relationships and the partnerships which are at the heart of our missions here to really build big bridges you cannot without mastering the language. So that's very important, and allow me to end this salon because viewers, listeners will maybe be in Timișoara those days in this year, and we have a lot of things in the French program and 2 exhibitions that are worth staying. The Victor Brauner, which is the first perspective of him until May, and it will be in September, Brancuș. And I think the 2 exhibitions that will be very, very interesting to see if people that are listening to us will go to Timișoara this year.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Julien. I would just like to add that, you know, there is a Swedish academic who wrote a book, Tom Sandquist, who wrote a book proving that the Dadaist language is based on the Jewish communities in Romania. So you're not very far from, from what his idea about the origin of Dadaism are. And second, because you use the word magic, to say also that the Victor Brauner exhibition is called Invention and Magic. And these are words that indeed in a certain way bring together a lot about the eclecticism and at the same time the beauty of both the Romanian language and Romania in itself. Thank you so much, Joachim, Elise, and Julien, for joining me for this Salon Insula 42, and see you very, very soon. See you very soon in Bucharest, Timișoara, Brașov, or wherever else in Europe. Thank you.
La revedere. Au revoir.
La revedere. Bye.